Japanese radio collectors. This is one of these Japanese imports that broke into the market in 1959-1960. The name in Canada was Rincan. I've seen them under Sansei in the US. These were really kind of a unique, it really captures that mid-century modern Japanese twist. And I grew up with one of these. At my grandparents' house they had a wood version of this one, and that thing was plugged in and running every day for news, weather, music while cooking, in the kitchen, and it lasted over 20 years doing that. All those hot tubes inside. It was quite an amazing radio. And it quit one day, and it was the power tube. After over 20 years, it ended up going down into Grandpa's shop, and then they got a realistic one, a concert mate, which didn't last as long. But anyway, I picked this one up at a flea market, and this is one of these units. I'm walking, and from like 100 feet away, I see this blue radio. And it was in the sun, and it looks as nice as it does right now. It was very clean, obviously in a closet probably for decades. This whole plastic front and knobs were very vulnerable to damage on these. This one has a couple stress marks right around the screws. There's only 2 screws holding the whole thing. And of course the filter capacitors were done. I'm just going to flip it around once here. You see how nice this is inside. There is a back for it. I just didn't put it on because it's not an X-ray cabinet. And inside of here was a folded up instruction sheet that basically fell apart when I unfolded it. So I scanned it, and I'll put it back in on the side where it's not too hot. It's a 5M-A2. This was a superior version. This one was available as a series heater radio, and this version here has a transformer. So there's 6-volt tubes with a 5-volt rectifier, which is kind of nice. Long life. Now, interesting thing, this plate of chassis has just a tiny bit of corrosion on it after all these years. It still has that almost new looking shine. And so I put new filter caps underneath here, underneath the chassis. They were wax covered Sansei label capacitors, through the different stages. I replaced those with polys, and it fired right up. The IF was a little bit out of alignment. The controls were a little dirty. Nice sounding 4x6 speaker. It even has an earphone jack. This is for the shortwave band, so let's bring it around and fire it up. No cracks in it, which is rare. Does not look great in the sun. You almost need sunglasses. The tone switch turns it on. And it actually has a bulb here for broadcast and one for shortwave. Of course, the bulbs were burned out, except for the shortwave one. I don't think it was used much.
COVID is still circulating quite rapidly.
Will storm quickly and then recurves up through western Tennessee and then Pennsylvania, and we're close enough to get some rain out of her.
Flows from truck to rail, reducing carbon emissions associated.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's around the world to help you navigate the world with Sound Bible.
It also has an input for a ceramic phono cartridge, which you switch on like that. And back to radio. High, mid, low tone switch. This takes it to shortwave. There's very little on shortwave. This 3.8 to 12 band these days. You get a few things. I found that this radio, because it's just a 5-tube design, you need about 20 feet of wire to really get the shortwave stations. I got 5 feet on there. You get a few. I got the time clock around 10 last night. But there it is. Great looking radio. You don't even have to play it. It looks so good. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening.